I'm a nerd.
Nerds.
Nerds.
Nerds!
I'm not kissing a nerd.
What is a nerd?
We interrupt this program for an important message from Nerdables.
Welcome, Deadables, to episode 9. Deadables. See, you have Nerdables and Edibles. No, Deadables. So Ethan and I...
Yes, edibles is going to be the food podcast.
It's because Chris is hungry. That's why he's just thinking edibles.
So we're doing this Walking Dead wrap-up show as Chris and Sebastian play Star Wars miniatures in front of us. So this should be an interesting one. So as we always tell you, or we should always tell you, spoilers, because we record this the night that the episode comes out. So watch the episode, then listen to this one. And I was talking to you, Eric, because apparently you're the you are the major Walking Dead cast fan.
Told you that's gonna fall.
I hit it. So Ethan, twice as far was tonight's episode.
Twice as far?
Twice as far.
Yeah.
Because Daryl had to go twice as far this time.
Yeah, because he didn't
want to take the
tracks.
railroad tracks.
Yeah, and we'll find out later why that was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Jeez.
What did you think of tonight's episode? First.
It seemed like an episode of a lot of people trying to prove themselves. So yeah.
It was like giving those secondary characters a little bit of screen time.
Yeah.
And get some of their backstory.
Well,
but we did get further in the comic book, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what I was going to say next, is that there's a lot of things from the comic book that played out in this episode.
Some things a little different than in the comic book, but
yeah,
still happened.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes me wonder, though, because there was a big change in this episode compared to the comic book, and it makes me wonder if you might be right about who actually meets their demise in the season finale. So we'll get right away with it.
Okay.
The episode starts out where it's kind of repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
We see day-to-day,
Well, it's like going through the motions of the day-to-day operations at Alexandria.
But did you notice when they showed you the storage facility for all the food, that there was more and more food each time they showed it?
Yeah, I mean it's showing like them actually going out on runs and whatnot. I mean, I guess
there's a lot more, but there was a lot more canned preserves and the fruit and vegetables and stuff.
Yeah. So I mean that could be the stuff that they're getting from Hilltop, or they've started doing their own stuff. Who knows? But yeah, I mean you could tell that they're kind of staying on top of their food game.
Yeah,
and especially later in the episode when Eugene and Abraham find where they were going to, and they're talking about how scarce ammunition is and things like that, and how that's going to help them out.
Yeah. We also see Morgan building a jail cell.
Mm-hmm.
And Rick
Which
tells
was a nice little foreshadowing, I think, to after in the comic books with All Out War. I think it's a nice little foreshadowing to that.
Yeah, it's a little bit of hearkening back to the fact that he sat in a cell for a while, and it gives you that full circle of now that's what he learned, and now he's doing it really plays out to what his character's been like for most of this season, is wanting to give people second chances.
Yeah.
And now you see it come to fruition with the whole jail cell.
Yeah.
This way people can't get out. Like Jesus.
Well, I have a feeling he would still be able to get out no matter what.
Yeah.
The guy got out of a lot of things.
So after the first commercial break, we come back and we see where everybody's kind of starting to go out on their runs. Mm-hmm. Denise wants to go out for the first time. She wants to get some medicine. She asked Rosita and Daryl to go, and then we have Eugene and Abraham walking down the town.
Mm-hmm. Well, Eugene has located a place that we don't know of until we see him get there. Is basically wanted Abraham to come with him to kind of check this place out.
When you saw, being a fan of the comic book, when you saw them walking down the street, did you know where they were going?
I did, because I mean it's the same as the comic book, and obviously, I kind of felt like they were going in that direction
Yeah.
because they talk a lot about how ammunition is low and this and that. And I was like, well, in the comic book, Eugene ends up finding a place where they can actually make their own ammunition. And
Yeah,
stuff
but
like
I
that.
couldn't help but think of the episode before last. They just raid one of the Savior's safe houses or one of their
But it's
facilities,
also-
and they have like a whole ammunition locker full.
But the question is, how much of that did they take?
Well, you'd hope they would take it all.
You would hope so, but then, like, if you really think about it, right after they get out of that facility is when Carol and Maggie were kidnapped. So, I mean, if you think about it, their mindset was probably like, "Oh, we need to get our."
Yeah, but then they
People
can
back.
go back. It wasn't that far away
So-
from it.
Well,
And
yeah.
you do see in the storage room they have a couple,
Well, they don't touch
trays
on,
full
yeah,
of weapons.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you see, they have more weapons and more ammunition. They had boxes of bullets on top too, so it's without them showing it in the show, it's really hard to say like how much they took. Did they take what they could carry, things like that nature,
Yeah,
So, yeah, but I mean, like honestly, like with Eugene saying it when he was there, is if we can make boxes of bullets, that's currency now.
yeah.
So if we did it, then we'll be on top, basically.
Well, Alexandria seems to be the place to go, anyways.
Yeah.
Of all of the communities we've seen, they have the best setup next to the governors.
Yeah.
So we have Eugene and Abraham. They find
They found like a machinist shop or
Yeah.
blacksmith shop or something like that. And
Did you like the tin zombie?
the lead zombie? You mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they called him the tin. They called him the Tin Man or whatever they called him.
But yeah, I mean that was a cool little touch. I mean, like you could see he died because they got scalding hot lead or aluminum or whatever burned on top of him.
Well, that's when
But it gave him
Eugene
like a helmet.
when Eugene said we need to find more lead. We're going to find a lot of lead, and then this zombie comes out. I'm like, well, just cut his
go.
head off and just
Like heat it
Yeah.
up, But yeah, no, and between that and the whole thing with him and Abraham, it really seemed like this was partly an episode for Eugene to say like, hey, look, I'm not that little scared, weak guy anymore.
Did you think this was Abraham's exit?
I did, and when they were walking down that alleyway,
Yeah.
I was like, that's it, it's right there.
Did you like the change from the comic book?
In a sense, yes, because you get to keep the main character that you have more of a connection with,
Yeah.
rather than the person who it did happen to. You kind of just only met this season.
But okay, so let's get we get to Daryl, Rosita, and Denise.
Mm-hmm.
We find out that Denise was a twin. She had a brother, Dennis.
Yeah, which we were all laughing because when they found the keychain, and I was like, "Oh, you can never find your name on those keychains." And she's holding a Dennis keychain, and then sure enough, 5 seconds later, the scene changes over. And it's
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I'm in my brother," and I was like, "Oh, okay, that's why she picked it up."
This is Denise's first time out in the field, out in the world.
She's never been outside the walls of Alexandria.
So they go into this apothecary,
Mm-hmm.
and they're looking for the pharmacy and everything, and of course they do find it, and then they hear a zombie, and Denise, trying to be brave, goes and searches for it.
Mm-hmm.
When she opens this, what I thought was a bathroom at first.
It was a bathroom.
Was it a bathroom?
Yeah, because
it had a lot of storage in it. I know that
Well,
like
also the
small.
sign on the door was like those traditional bathroom signs, where
Yeah.
it's like restrooms, and then it has the two figures on the side.
Oh yeah, because I know a lot of small stores use their bathrooms as storage. Sometimes
Yeah.
they have to. But when we open the door, there's a baby. There's a crib there,
Mm-hmm.
and did you think you were going to get a zombie baby?
I kind of did.
I
thought
thought
there was
for
something
sure.
going to be moving around like in the crib or something like that.
Yeah.
So
I thought the banging was the zombie baby hanging like a zombie toddler or something hanging halfway out of either like a vent or something, and the legs were just kicking back and forth.
yeah,
But instead, we get
Well, because you see all the pictures on the counter and everything.
right.
And she opens the door and there's the baby crib, and I was like, "Oh, you're gonna see this baby. Where's the baby?" And then, sure enough, the baby's submerged in water in the.
You just see a foot hanging
Yeah,
out.
you just see a foot, and then with the writing on the wall, that's just like hush, hush, hush. I'm wondering if like the owner of the shop, who's probably the parent of this kid, was just kind of went nuts, kind of like what Morgan went through,
Yeah,
and killed the
baby because it wouldn't stop crying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking. And which freaked Denise out. She went outside. That's when you first saw the dentist.
Yeah. Well, she was still waiting for Daryl and Rosita to find like the medication in the back of the pharmacy,
Right.
and so she was just browsing for keychains.
And then we get to the railroad tracks again, which we kind of glossed over that. When they went out, there was a tree down, and Daryl didn't want to go down the railroad tracks. And I was thinking, why didn't he want to go down the railroad
Probably
tracks?
harkening to Terminus. I mean,
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking. I was thinking because the end of the line at the railroad tracks was Terminus.
Yeah.
And
Well, not only that,
either
but-
that or because he was locked in a train car.
Yeah, I mean, he was referring, like, it's just him remembering that.
But I forgot that the pack that he was with on the way to Terminus would ambush people from the train tracks. That was one of the setups that they were trying to do when they got to back when he found Sophia, or not Sophia, but Sasha and Maggie.
He
Remember?
didn't find him.
Yeah, he was with that group, wasn't he?
This is Bob. Bob was Sasha and Maggie.
Right, but it was it was Bob, Sasha, and Maggie, and they come across Daryl's group,
No,
didn't they?
no. Rick, Michonne, and Carl crossed their group because Joe wanted to kill Rick for killing the one guy in there.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
God,
and that wasn't on the railroad tracks. They were just on the road.
wasn't it?
Yeah,
Let's see. I don't remember that season. It's been so long ago.
yeah.
You were mentioning the baby.
Yes.
See, they were locked in a bathroom. I think it's much more sad than killing baby to save themselves. I think the person killed the baby to protect the baby from himself or herself because he was in a cast, obviously wounded. Got to put the baby to sleep.
But then why do you have hush, 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 hush
Probably
written
went
on it?
crazy after killing baby.
Yeah, he could.
That's what for me. I sort of interpreted the scene as being far more tragic. Like, got to protect the baby from myself. I don't want to become one of those monsters and eat a baby. So might as well save the baby from suffering a horrific fate.
I guess that works too. I like going with the darker edge though. That the guy went nuts or the girl went nuts and just killed the baby.
Yeah.
Okay, so they go down the railroad tracks. Daryl and Denise and Rosita and get ambushed, and
it's Mr. Dwight.
Mr. Dwight or Mr. D.
We find out
The way they died, though.
We found out.
Huh?
How did they get ambushed?
Well,
You're missing the whole point of why they.
we're
stopped.
getting to it, Chris. We're getting
you're
to
not.
it. Shut.
Well, they get ambushed, but they're standing there.
We find out very quickly.
I glossed over. Denise
that,
killed a zombie, and she was telling them.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
We find out very quickly that Dwight still has Daryl's crossbow.
Well, because yes, Denise finally steps up and kills a zombie, which was something that Eugene couldn't do because Abraham had to step in for him with the Tin Man. But
Well, the thing with Eugene is it caught him off guard because he went up to slash him over the head and it's just like ding, because his head was cut. He had a helmet basically.
yeah,
It's the same as like the riot gear walkers back at the prison when they first tried to take the prison. And Maggie tries to hit him over the head with something and it's
oh yeah.
bounces off. But yeah,
But Denise finally got her soda that she was looking for,
yeah.
and almost cost her life. But she did step up and take care of it.
I had this big speech about how she needed to become brave and so on and so forth. And then
Sorry, wait, Sebastian, did you laminate those cards?
Oh, no, they're just card covers.
Oh, okay. So
The Ultra Pros have the dot, so it covers up one of the upgrades.
nice.
So I gotta go get ones that are blank.
Why don't you just flip over to the other side?
because it's red on the other side.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, 'cause you don't really need it.
So Denise is standing there, standing up for herself, with Daryl and Rosita, and then she's telling him why she picked them to come out and everything. And
Well, she says like Daryl reminds her a lot about her brother and
Right.
how brave he is, and Rosita was all alone, so she wanted to,
she wanted to make her stronger.
right. She wanted
And give her hope or whatever to be, so she'd be stronger. And then, right in mid sentence, she gets a crossbow bolt
the
right
back
through
of
the
the
back of the head.
So yeah.
Yeah, and then we find out that the crossbow used to belong to Mr. Darrell,
Yes.
and it belonged to Mr. Dwight now.
Who Dwight emphatically emphasized that he was aiming for Daryl, but
Yes.
he doesn't know how to use the crossbow yet, so therefore,
Which we get Dwight with his burned face.
yes. So we get a good indication of how Negan handles his people.
Yes.
And for those of you who read the comic books, you understand by seeing this picture and this image of how Negan basically handles people who are traitors or.
Well, we'll find that out within the next 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Or
Well, we'll find out other things.
yes, and then Eugene, being the new Gene, which we found the new Gene, yeah, he's in step 2 of his change.
3-step plan. Yeah.
I loved how he explained it like a video game, character. But we also noticed that because last week we were thinking that he cut his hair in the preview.
Yes.
He's just got it pulled back in a
He's got
ponytail.
a little ponytail. So, for all of you that are wondering, Eugene does still have his mullet, and you guys can all worry.
Yes, Mr. Mullet is still there.
Yes.
And then Eugene distracts everybody.
Well, first of all, I mean, we should say that back at the machine shop or whatever, Abraham and Eugene have a huge fight.
Yes.
Over the fact that Eugene got upset that Abraham killed the zombie for him, and he said, "I could do it," and basically Eugene saying, "Hey," or Abraham saying, "Hey, you're the smart one, I'm the brawn."
We actually are doing a full breakdown this time, aren't we? Instead of glossing.
Well, you're doing a full breakdown by going backwards.
Well, yeah, but you gotta
okay.
so that way you watch the episode. We don't just tell you the whole episode.
It's okay.
I mean,
Eric enjoys it this way. Trust me.
Does he?
Yeah.
maybe you should go scene by scene instead of having to go.
No.
Wait, no. what
You see,
happened was-
That's the thing is we try to, and then we remember stuff, and we're like, oh, so we have to go back.
Ethan's usually the one that keeps things in chronological order.
But so basically, in that shop, they have a big argument, and basically, Abraham leaves and says, screw you, I'm out, and leaves Eugene alone. And
Well, Eugene basically tells him, "I don't need you anymore.
right, he said,
Hey,
thanks
you've
for getting
outlived
me."
your usefulness."
Yeah, he's like, thanks for getting me from Houston to here, but I don't need you anymore, type deal, and you don't need to protect me anymore. Blah blah. blah.
Abraham walks out, calls him an asshole, and leaves.
Yeah, which he uses one of the greatest lines that Abraham has is picking up the cleaner end of a turd.
He's always got at least one.
He's always got nice little.
I think that's one reason why the fans love him so much. But that's one reason why they can't kill him off yet.
Yeah. So
So here we are. Abraham
now
is
we're
hiding behind some barrels, conveniently placed in the scene, by the way.
right. Well, I mean, and at this point, when Eugene kind of rats out his location, everybody, or I shouldn't say everybody, because me personally, I was like, you fucking bitch. I was like, just because you're mad at him, you can rat him out.
See, I didn't think that at all.
Yeah, but then
I thought he was doing it because he was distracting him. Because the way he kept looking, and he'd look, and then he looked at Daryl and them, and then.
Well, later, when the guy starts creeping up with the barrels, I was like, you know what? So maybe Abraham is starting to move behind or something like that. He's trying to move in a different position, and so he's just kind of like getting people out of the way.
And then Eugene does one of the most desperate acts.
Well, you gotta give the guy props for using his brain, because he flat out bit that guy's dick off.
It just completely. Dwight has the worst time when he comes across these people.
Hey, you know what? Well, maybe he should reevaluate his life choices.
Because Eugene just took a big old bite of hot dog and wasn't letting that thing go.
Mm-hmm. Which I'm kind of curious if
How they shot they scene?
Well, no, how good of a bite can you get? Dwight's wearing pretty tight jeans in that scene. I mean, they're not skinny jeans, but they're tight enough.
You were paying attention to his face.
Ethan was paying way too much attention to this.
You know what? As a viewer, I'm going over all the details so I can make sure that I'm reporting this to our fans.
Yeah, you just like the dick biting.
No, not just.
And the question is, when they shot that scene, how long did Eugene, the actor, have to have his mouth,
His face in
his face in his
guy's junk? Yeah, that's a good question. We'll ask him next time we see him.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So then, as always, our team gets the upper hand,
Yeah.
and they take out most of the
Well, they don't.
saviors.
It doesn't look like they take out most of them. They maybe got like one or two of them, but a lot of them seem to.
It seemed like a lot more than one or two.
It seemed like there was, maybe 6 to 8 of them when they first came through.
But then there was still a lot of them running
away.
Yeah.
There was like 5 or 6 of them running away. So I don't think they killed off a bunch of them.
They must have just wounded them or something.
Yeah, I think they killed maybe like 2 of them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but we lost Denise.
We lost Denise.
Eugene got shot in the side. Or grazed, I should
by
say.
what they say is grazed later on.
It looked way worse than grazing.
Well, I mean, it's they probably showed it for the effect on TV. Looking really bloody and everything, but it could be just like, hey, hit a soft spot on his stomach and the bullet went through or something.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I mean, we're obviously building to all-out war for next season.
Well, I don't think All Out War is.
Do you think it'll be the second half of the season, and they'll do it from like
at the earliest? I think it would play out in the second half of next season.
And they'll just do it for like the second half from the season, the second, whatever you want to call it.
Well, that's the thing is, there's still quite a bit of stuff that happens between now and All Out War. They haven't met the kingdom with Ezekiel's guys.
Right.
The whole thing with Dwight. I don't want to say that yet.
Well, but it looked like okay, they were preparing in the preview for next week. It looks like they are preparing to go after the saviors.
Yeah, and that's what happens in the comic book right before they get ambushed with all of the saviors.
Right.
And that's the whole reason why they basically get bitched out.
So, do you think that the? Oh, you did buy it, didn't you? That the Punisher, yeah. Talking about the starships Chris is using. Wow, that equals up to 100, 4 of them, and yours on 3 of them only. Okay, so anyways, back to so when the Glenn episode, we'll leave it at that much of it. Do you think it's next? It's not next week. It'd have to be the last thing that happens at the.
It's going to be the season finale.
You think it's the last thing that happens?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's going to be.
That's the reveal of Negan.
Either that, or just because on their track record of what they've been doing for season finales, that they may end it with them meeting Negan.
Yeah.
And not actually do it until the start episode.
So,
which I hope they don't, because that's kind of dumb in my opinion. But
so then, as the episode's getting ready to end, we get this little voiceover of Carol, her letter that she's saying goodbye and leaving the community.
Good thing to touch on is that we were saying at the end of the episode, there are basically a lot of cars lined up at the gate. They look like they're going out to get the saviors, basically, to go after them.
Yeah.
But all that time that everything's getting set up for that and whatnot, it's the voiceover of Carol's note left for, I forget his name, but...
Well, she left it for the whole community, basically.
Well,
but she left it to him.
But it was, and he basically runs, based on the preview we get for next week, he runs up to Rick and says, hey, I found this from Carol, blah, blah. And so that they kind of go after her, I guess.
I guess, yeah.
The way that it makes it look like is that they're going to go after Carol.
I have a feeling, because the ambush that they get from the saviors in the comic book was when they were coming back from, I think it was the second trip to Hilltop.
Or they were going on a run or something, yeah.
So I have a feeling that's when they're going to get attacked by... The end of the episode will be them being attacked by the saviors.
Could be. Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing.
Carol leaving, though, is that surprise to you?
No. Well, I mean, here's my theory on what Carol's going through. because of the way that she's acted since the last episode. See, so Carol, since the last episode, has basically her mindset has changed as far as what her role is within this group and within this world.
Yes.
She's very guilt driven on what she's done, and that the what was her name, Polly, really got to her. The girl that was in the last episode, like, just really seemed to get to her, and so
Well, because you realized she was becoming her.
yeah. And in the comic book, it's kind of like the same idea. Carol's getting to a point of depression,
Right.
and ultimately commits suicide by getting eaten by a zombie in the comic book. She, like I was mentioning last week, there's a zombie that was tied to a stake in the prison, and Carol basically just walks up to it and lets her bite her,
Right.
and just dies. So,
Do you think we'll see a dead Carol or a zombie Carol?
my guess is that this is the direction it's going.
Or do you think she'll come back? I don't see how they could bring her back to the group a second time, because then it just kind of like
That's what
I don't care anymore about Carol.
Yeah.
I think that's why I almost think that the Glenn thing could be switched. The character could be switched.
Yeah, it could. I mean, I don't want to take it more than a grain of salt with what Stephen Young said about the episode, the final episode. He's saying that, he made a lot of reference and mention to, well, in the show, we changed things up from the comic book to keep it fresh a lot.
Right.
So, people keep asking him about that scene and everything, and he just keeps offering that answer. And for me, it's, maybe a lot of Robert Kirkman training for them to kind of deflect questions.
Yeah.
And make it seem like, oh, yeah, it's not going to happen, but it does happen.
Sending it out as a red herring.
Right.
Yeah.
But I could see it as a number of other characters.
Right. There's at least 3 other characters I can think of right now that it could be.
Well, I mean, I definitely see...
You can see Abraham.
I can see it being Abraham. Abraham maybe trying to do as a good gesture.
Could you
trying to be...
Could you see it as Daryl?
I can't see it as Daryl just because of how much people care for him and people would be so upset. But then again, I could see it on the other side as it to make it more impactful. They do take it for a character that's so loved. But then I can also see it as Carol.
Yeah, I could see it's Carol. I could see it as Abraham. I could even see it as Sasha.
No, I think Sasha's kind of gained that role of Andrea in the comic book.
No, that I totally agree with. She is that character.
Yeah, I don't see it as being her, to be honest with you.
So with 2 episodes left, do you? There's so much speculation, but because you can honestly see where it's heading to.
Well, we already know, especially because Robert Kirkman said that Negan's going to show up in the final episode.
Right, and that's Negan's first appearance.
Yeah, the way that he's introduced is so vicious that I wouldn't see why they wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
Especially with it being with the final episode of the season.
So, is there anything about this episode you didn't like? The lack of Carl?
Well, no. The tone of the episode of being like, oh, well, these 2 characters need to show that they're badasses now, or they want to prove something to the whole group or whatever. I was like, you don't really need that kind of stuff.
Right. Well, now what are they going to do without a doctor?
Well, that's true. I was going to say, Carol kind of learned stuff from Herschel, but Carol's gone.
I mean, the Hilltop at least there's a doctor at Hilltop, and they can go take him to there.
Well, that kind of, I guess maybe has that going for them.
Yeah.
Or maybe they'll send someone over to kind of learn from him or whatever.
Red Rover, send your doctor right over.
Well, that's the thing is, they can probably send one of their group members to Hilltop to learn from that doctor on how to do some basic stuff and whatnot. And so, yeah.
Tara's going to be completely distraught when she comes back.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it might be even Tara that takes over for her. You don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Anything else that you spotted about this episode?
No, I don't. I mean, a lot of things happened, but it wasn't. It's just feels like filler until the season finale.
Yeah. Are you ready for Fear the Walking Dead to start back up?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind watching it to see how it goes, but it's not something that I'm, overly crazy about premiere for. I was like, the first season started getting good towards the end, so I kind of want to watch the first couple episodes of the second season to see how it's
Zombies on a boat.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, and then if I get interested enough, I'll continue watching it. But if not, I'm okay with not watching it. But
All right. I'm sorry. I'm getting mesmerized by Sebastian using the app to play the game now.
well, he's using Surrey to flip a coin.
Ah.
So yeah.
All right. So on that, we're going to wrap things up. 2 more episodes of Walking Dead, which
More episodes.
I don't. Are we going to do Fear the Walking Dead, or do you want to? We'll see
figure
how
it
it
out.
goes.
Yeah, like I said, it depends on if we end up watching it
Yeah.
continuously. I mean,
Or should we switch to Game of Thrones?
we could probably switch to Game of Thrones because I think we know that we'd be watching that more often. But if we end up watching Fear the Walking Dead, yeah, why not?
All right.
Maybe
So now we're going to wrap things up. Make sure you
we might do both in one show. We'll see.
Fear the Game of Thrones.
Fear the Game of Thrones.
So on that note, we're going to wrap things up. Make sure you listen to the podcast, the Nerdables podcast, our main podcast. I forgot the word there for a minute. This week we kind of did our whole little roundtable of whatever we wanted to talk about. We just talked about it. And next week we might do WonderCon. So there might be some information for Fear or The Walking Dead at WonderCon.
I doubt it.
I doubt it, but yeah, you never know. Well, Skybound is always there, so
Yeah, well, but it's always
Ethan will pick up a new toy.
Probably. I think there's a couple that I need to pick up from their exclusives, but we'll see if they're selling them at the booth.
All right, so make sure you go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/nerdables, and at I totally fucked it up tonight, and on Twitter at Nerdable Show.
There you go.
And there you go. We'll talk to you next time.
It takes a second sometimes.
Yeah, I got it right on the show tonight.
1 for 2.
1 for 2, right?